The new president will come into office. President-elect Joe Biden will be inaugurated on Wednesday. Now, over the last month, we've been hearing a lot about his cabinet picks. It's a diverse group, including some key Latinos. And joining us now with more on these cabinet members nominated is Paul Lisnek, our political analyst, our favorite here at WGN. Nice to see you, Paul.
Buenos días, mi amiga. ¿Cómo está?
Muy bueno, muy bien. Muchas gracias. You're getting so much better.
I now have 4 phrases.
They're improving. They're improving. Okay, let's talk about these cabinet picks. I know that Biden has said over and over again he wanted a diverse group. He has picked a diverse group. How does it compare to maybe other administrations?
Well, Biden has said that this would be the most diverse cabinet in our history, and it is that. There's no question. I mean, under the Trump cabinet, you had an African-American male, and you had a few, but nothing like we've seen in the Biden cabinet. I mean, pretty much every group, almost every group, is represented. And even in the world of Latino representation, he could have put a Latino person and called it a day, or a couple of Latino people. But even there, we have a Cuban, we have a Mexican, we have Puerto Rican. So it's almost as though they laid out a map of the world that is represented in the United States and said, let's be sure we represent these major groups. And they have really tried to do that with people who most would argue, we'll see if they all get confirmed, belong in the jobs they have.
So there's diversity within diversity is what you're finding in
And one other thing I
picks.
should say is that, there were people who said it's very important that he have a cabinet that looks like America. And then there were those that said, well, no, he needs a cabinet that looks like the people that put him in office, because that's a different group, so to speak. And so one could argue that maybe there should be more African-American representation because African-American females are absolutely responsible, right? This whole race turned around in South Carolina. Thank you, Congressman James Clyburn. But nevertheless, it's diverse, so you got to give him points for that.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the Latino picks for our show. And so we've highlighted some of the key names. The first one that came up is Alejandro Mayorkas. This is a huge job because we're talking about Homeland Security, a topic that has been discussed during the recent administration over and over again. So it's likely to play a key role moving forward as well.
Look, I know there's a lot of things going on like COVID and stuff, and we will talk about that. But when President Trump first came into office, do you remember the very first thing he did? Was the Muslim ban. It started having travel bans and different, decisions like that. And before long, it took some time, but then DACA was wiped out. So when you get Alejandro Mayorkas as the Secretary of Homeland Security, he's Cuban. He grew up in Los Angeles, so he was born here, the highest-ranking Cuban-American to serve in the Obama administration. So we will see a lot of these cabinet members have also served in the Obama administration. Biden was not about bringing in people he'd not known before. He was going to bring in people I think he relied on. But Mayorkas was actually integral to the creation of DACA under the Obama administration. So he comes back, and of course the court has ruled that no, you can't just get rid of DACA that easily. So I think we may see some effort now. We'll probably talk about Democrats taking over all 3 branches of government, but with that, there's now great certainty that not only the DACA program is safe, but we might just get more comprehensive immigration reform, and somebody like Mayorkas is going to be critical to that because he's been a part of that from those early days. He's going to be key to rolling back all of the immigration bias that we saw over the last 4 years. He's going to be critical to all that.
And the fact that we have so many Latinos represented in the cabinet, how do you think just overall that will change the tone in America with some of this immigration rhetoric that we've had in the past and so much division? The fact that we have a few Latinos in the cabinet, what will that mean?
Look, everything starts at the top, right? So I think when we've already heard President-elect Biden's view of how he speaks, and he talks about, I'm going to be a president for everybody, not just red America, or not just the people of blue America, not the people who just voted for me. And we just didn't have that for the last 4 years. President Trump was very direct about what he thought of various groups. And let me give you something that President Trump is doing on the way out the door, or has done just on the way out the door, which is he's put Cuba on the terrorist list, the terrorist country list. Well, you can be sure that, and of course, Mayorkas, as we said, is Cuban. You can be sure that the Biden administration comes in and that policy gets modified very quickly. Cuban is irate over that, and one would argue, what was the importance of doing that on your way out the door? But all the progress we made under the Obama administration, and I understand there's some Cuban Americans who are more conservative and more Republican and all of that, but for those who want to see more connection to Cuba, potentially now more travel, open it up again, they're going to see it.
All right, next on the line, Javier Becerra, who is the Health and Human Services Secretary. What do we know about him?
First of all, first Latino to hold that office, and he has been the Attorney General in California for quite a while. He's Mexican, and he was a former congressman for 12 terms. That's 24 years in Congress. That's critical because what is it that Health and Human Services is going to deal with? It's the COVID pandemic. It's all this stuff going on. And he's going to have to know how to deal with Congress. Well, he lived there for a very long time. So, because there was some question as to why would you bring this more lawyer type? This is somebody who you could have seen as Attorney General, to be honest with you, with his background in immigration and his background in criminal justice. He certainly could have been the pick for AG, but he's going to be critical with regard to handling the COVID situation and dealing with Congress, and critically there, changes to the Affordable Care Act. Because we're going to know in the coming weeks, maybe a couple of months, we're going to know whether the Supreme Court throws out the Affordable Care Act. Now, having listened to the arguments that were made earlier in the term, it was the very beginning of the term, right after the election, a week after the election, in November, that the court heard the arguments to dump the Affordable Care Act. And the bottom line was that the justices seem to indicate that they won't. So if they don't dump it, it has to be fixed. It looks like Becerra will be critical to fixing it.
Okay, I've got two more that I want to get through. We've got probably about a minute. Isabel Guzman, Small Business Administration, which is also a big job given the pandemic.
So it's always been seen as a minor cabinet position. It is more major now, and the reason is because of the pandemic. So there's a lot of looking to her to put small business on the front burner. She actually is involved in her current role with a company called Government Contract Pros in dealing with small businesses, consulting, who get government loans to help them spend it in the right ways. She's going to raise the profile of the pandemic of the Small Business Administration. That's going to be critical. She's part of the economic team. Janet Yellen, running Treasury, all of that important.
When I talk to many Latinos, they tell me one of the top priorities for them is education. And sure enough, we've got the Secretary of Education being Miguel Cardona.
He's Puerto Rican. So again, Latino, but different from another country. He was born in Connecticut and educated there. He went to public schools. Now, Betsy DeVos, the past Secretary of Education, as we know, was much more favoring of private schools, religious schools. Well, you know, Cardona went to a public school. He's going to be a favorite of the teachers' unions, maybe not so much the board this time around. I think he's going to be very popular. He's also made it clear that he wants schools opened within 100 days. That's the Biden plan. He's got the background as a commissioner in Connecticut of education to make that happen. By the way, his background is K through 12. It's unclear what he'll do with higher education, but his mindset seems to be in line with Biden, so I'm sure he'll be fine. Okay, so these were all nominations. We still have to wait for their approval coming up as Biden comes into office. But we have to worry less about that in terms of getting them through because the Democrats control the Senate. His nominations will get through now. All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Paul Lisnek. You can watch him on WGN TV, and you can also go online and find him, and you can find his new book, which is called, what is it? Assumed Treason. It's about a presidential election with white supremacy. Where did I get that from? Okay.